Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Virtual Face-to-Face with President Bruce Jarrell. I'm Alex Lukowski, Assistant Vice President of Communications. Now, see if you remember this speech at the World Economic Summit in Davos 3 years ago. Adults keep saying we owe it to the young people to give them hope, but I don't want your hope. I don't want to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day, and then I want you to act. I want you to act as you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if the house is on fire, because it is. Now, you may have guessed those are, of course, the words of then 16-year-old environmental activist Greta Thunberg. If we didn't know better, her words would certainly be taken as hyperbole at the very least. But we do. We do know better. The United Nations Environmental Program reports the planet is about 1.1 degrees Celsius hotter than the end of the 19th century. And if we don't do anything differently than we're doing now, they estimate we'll be at 3.2 degrees hotter by the end of the century. And we're reminded every day of the impact of that change. Just in the last 24 hours, you may have seen these headlines from the Washington Post. Oceans are warming faster than ever. Here's what could come next. And ABC News reported bodies of water all over the U.S. are drying up due to drought and climate change. A couple of days earlier, others proclaimed Antarctica's collapse could begin even sooner than anticipated. Extreme heat could make parts of Asia, Africa, uninhabitable in decades, and animal populations experience an average decline of almost 70% since 1970. Add to that all the other things: food and water scarcity, deforestation, desertification, increasing air pollution, sea level rise, and so much more. And it'd be hard not to be at least a little bit pessimistic about the future. But don't give in to pessimism. Consider the words of environmentalist and polar explorer Robert Swan. The greatest threat to our planet, he said, is the belief that someone else will save it. Well, that's why here at UMB, we're not waiting for someone else to save it, and it's why well-being and sustainability is now a core value. Of course, sustainability can mean many things. If you attended one of our core values town halls last year, you might have heard Dean Judy Postma say, what we mean by this is that we care about the welfare of our people, our planet, our communities, and our university. Concepts like work-academic life balance, environmentally friendly, responsible stewardship of resources, family-friendly, mindfulness. Well, today we're going to focus on the more environmental side of sustainability, how we heat and cool our buildings, how we get to work, what we eat and drink, how it's packaged, and what we do with all that packaging, the stuff we acquire, that sort of thing. Now, in that context, sustainability is about creating and then maintaining a way of life that can be sustained off into the future without damaging the natural world for future generations. There are and have been many leaders in sustainability here on campus. School of Nursing Dean Jane Kirschling has revolutionized the way her school works and lives each day with expansive recycling, water dispensers, centralized office waste, and much more, including a green wall, which you inadvertently saw a glimpse of a moment ago. The campus center has low-flow shower heads, paperless processes, upcycling, even food composting. And right at the top of the food chain, Dr. Jarrell himself drives and has driven for quite a while now an electric Chevy Volt, which you can see if you come into the Saratoga parking lot. And he has pushed the expansion of electric vehicle charging at all of our garages. But what you might not know is that as of last year, thanks again to Dr. Jarrell, UMB has its own Office of Sustainability with a staff dedicated to identifying and realizing a wide array of sustainability programs and practices. The UMB has green roofs, LED certified buildings, I should say LEED certified buildings. We participate in renewable power purchasing agreements. We've converted a great deal of our lighting to energy efficient LED technology. And the Office of Sustainability looks closely at everything we do with an eye to sustainability: procurement, transportation, waste management, you name it. But the team is ready for more. Joining us today to explain what we're doing and the impact it's having, and to hear your ideas on how we can get to the next level of sustainability, is the director of the Office of Sustainability, and for the moment, interim AVP for Facilities and Operations, Anna Borgerding. Anna, it's great to have you here. I know you're champing at the bit to tell us what your office is working on and to hear ideas and questions from the audience. So to the audience, remember this program is being recorded, will be posted on the UMB homepage, and please write your questions or comments in the chat area. When it's time for your questions, we'll call on you by name and open your mic for you. All you have to do is speak up. Of course, if you do want to remain anonymous, that's okay. Just let me know that. So with all that out of the way, here's your host, electric car driving President Dr. Bruce Jarrell.
Thanks, Alex, and Anna, thank you for being here with us. I do love my electric car. It's not 100% electric. It does have a generator in it, but pretty much all the time I run on electric power. I don't pay attention to the gas prices anymore. And to be honest with you, I get ticked off whenever I go visit someplace and there's no charging station. So you get quite uh, amorous about your car. I never thought I'd think that way, but I do love my car. And I hope that you all consider that with your next purchase. I haven't heard the percentage. Maybe Anna can tell us, but I know the percentage on our roads of electric cars is going up fairly steadily. So with that, maybe I'll give Anna a little bit of time to talk here. In terms of this university, why should we be so focused on sustainability? How can we do that when we got so many other things to worry about? So, Anna, why do we focus on this?
So thank you for having me, Alex and Dr. Jarrell. I appreciate it. I, we are an institution of higher education, and we are key agents in educating our future leaders and the next generation. So it's imperative that we bring sustainability into everything that we do on the academic side as well as the operations. It has been said that it's the next or the biggest global health crisis. As Alex had mentioned, some of those headlines, we are seeing the impacts of the earth warming and what that's doing. And just recently, Hurricane Ian impacting Florida, not just the homes and the livelihoods down there, but also being able to provide critical care, impacting those hospitals and whatnot. I would say that we also need to model decisions found in research that we're conducting. Dean Gladwin, in his inaugural speech, talked about climate medicine and how our students are able to have that opportunity to define what that is. It's important for us as an anchor institution for setting that bar and also holding ourselves accountable in, not just the state, but in the nation.
So the charge is with us then to take care of this, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
So your office has now been in place for what, almost 2 years now?
A year. Yep, last
A
August.
year. Time flies.
Yeah.
And maybe you could start with a few of the things that you've put into place already. And then the second half of this question will be what kind of things do you think are going to happen in the next year?
Sure. So right away, we started with a strategic plan. So there's so much to do, as you mentioned, and where to start. And we have a strategic plan laid out, which has myriad of goals in different areas. So utilities and emissions, education, and we started with working groups. So we have 4 different working groups that meet. We have 6 of the 7 schools present on those working groups, and we hear from them the initiatives that are meaningful to those schools and to those units. One of those working groups is Green Labs, and that, labs are resource intensive spaces and also energy intensive spaces. And what the Green Labs program aims to do is it's a checklist of provides labs with an opportunity to document the sustainable practices that they're already incorporating and to gather ideas. So shutting the sash when they're not there, different items, turning off the lights and things like that, reporting leaks, so that we can make sure that our lab spaces are using less energy. On our campus, labs use an estimated 76% of our total energy use, and they account for 39% of our gross square footage. So there's a large opportunity here to reduce that energy consumption within labs. Additionally, with launching the Green Labs beta, we have started other programs on campus, and by that we're looking into different projects like the solar carports that we're looking into for 2 different garages on our campus. We have the LED lighting project as well. So our commitment to replacing light bulbs in our buildings with LED light bulbs, which use less energy. And we're about 32% complete on that project. You also asked about some information about like what's coming ahead in the next year. So in the next year, I anticipate us really ramping up some efforts on some projects that we have on campus. I also know on the academic side, we have some improvements too. So the School of Social Work is creating an eco-social work course, and the School of Medicine created a faculty appointment. I believe their title, or roughly titled, the Climate and Health Content Lead. And so they're longitudinally integrating climate and health into our curriculum in the School of Medicine side. I also see the sustainability team incorporating different features and working with our design and construction and operations and maintenance on some projects, and specifically maybe the School of Social Work. We are in the process for procuring that architect and engineer who are going to design that building. And what, you know, we live with those decisions, right? We don't often build buildings, and they're here for a very long time. So what features can we incorporate into that building that will carry us into the future?
Do we have any buildings here on UMB that have solar panels or geothermal or any such things?
So we don't currently have any buildings that have solar or geothermal, but that doesn't mean that that opportunity doesn't exist in the future. We are looking at what roofs are possible for these projects, and geothermal does require some ground space for that, but there are also other ways and other elements that we can incorporate into buildings for, you know, more sustainable features. For example, the way the buildings face and glazing on windows that also protect the birds from migrating, but also, you know, heat gain from the sun. So there's definitely things that we can build in that we're looking to with different renovation projects.
What would it take to have a geothermal system in our School of Social Work, the new building, for example? What's involved with that?
Yeah. So, you know, there's different ways of going about it. There, oftentimes they drill wells into the ground, and they use the source, the heat source from the earth, to heat and cool the building. And sometimes those wells can go down vertically or horizontally. So oftentimes you'll hear of institutions who've, in the Midwest, right, because they have a lot of land, they've drilled wells for like their whole campus or whatnot. And that does entail some making sure that the building, there's enough wells that are drilled to cover the building use, heating and cooling the entire building. We are looking at different other features to include. So there are certain buildings that have boilers that use natural gas, and converting them to electric where it makes sense. This will also you know, diminish our fossil fuel use on our campus and get us to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions.
So it's never quite made sense to me. You switch from fossil fuels to electric. Okay, but the electric has to be generated. So what's the trade-off there? Assuming, well, of course, you tell me how the electricity is generated. It could be nuclear, it could be fossil fuel. So what's the trade-off there when you make that conversion?
Yeah, so it's a great question that you bring up, because it's like, oh, we're going to have all these electric cars. We have to charge them somehow, and can the infrastructure handle that? Right now in the PJM territory, our electricity is produced various ways, and some of that is nuclear, some of that is through burning fossil fuels. But I will say that the grid is getting greener. So there are large solar farms being built, some over landfill sites. You know, we are part of power purchase agreements and a couple of solar farms with other USM institutions, and that electricity does feed into the grid. And so it is greening. So the more that's fed in by these renewable sources, the less that's needed to be produced by burning those fossil fuels. There are other trade-offs as well in regards to, everything coming from one source, right? But there is ways to build in duplicity and, how we do that as a campus.
Yeah, I know in my car, I would always do the calculation based upon the price of gas. Of course, I have to look at the signs for the price of gas because I don't buy much of it anymore. But it seemed to me that it was about a 4-to-1 ratio. So it cost me 3 or 4 times as much on gasoline as it would on electricity.
Yeah.
And Alex, I know you've got a 100% electric car. So I guess there's no trade-off for you, is there? You don't have a choice.
No, although I was telling Anna before the show, my kids like to mock my car sometimes because I have to stop more frequently to charge up. But it's worth it, and it makes me a more mindful driver. There are a lot of benefits beyond even just the energy.
Yeah, if we're not burning fossil fuels, then it also helps with local air quality, right? So that's not going into the air that we are breathing as we walk the campus or, at our homes.
So Alex, how long does it take you to charge up, and how far do you go? So how much does it really interrupt your trip?
Well, I mean, commuting I'm not interrupted. I have my own level 2 charger at home, so I'm fully charged. I come to work, I charge up at work, I go home. But if I want to go to the beach and I have to go a couple of 100 miles, I'm going to have to stop and charge. So,
and how long will that take?
It goes from about 20% charge to about 80% charge in 15 minutes. And when you get, as you know, when you get higher charge stored up on your battery, the charging rate goes down. So it takes longer to go from, 80 to 90 and you don't typically charge all the way up. So you have to really be mindful of distances, where the charging stations are. It is a little bit of work, but there are more charging stations all over Maryland now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I know that each of our parking lots has at least 1 or 2 charging stations in it. I have to be honest that I've not learned how to charge my car in the middle of a trip. Of course, I don't have to because I can switch over easily enough. But a friend of ours, Dean Gladwin, was telling me that when he drives to Pittsburgh, now he has a Tesla. The Tesla can supercharge the equivalent of 1,000 miles in 1 hour or 250 miles in 15 minutes. Wow. That's pretty rapid, man. I think I could plan a trip that way.
Sure.
So now, Anna, you haven't told us what kind of car you drive yet.
Well, I'm carting around 2 little boys and 2 car seats, so I don't drive an electric car yet. But it does bring up the personal choices that we make, right? And so some of these are personal choices, but I would say that there are lots of other things that individuals can do if the electric car isn't in the cards right now, right? So, there are things that can help make a difference. And, on campus, we have green labs. We just started, an office supply swap, right? If you need office supplies as opposed to purchasing new, the things that we procure, what we bring for lunch, all the things that we bring to campus and the waste that it creates. There are different decisions that each of us can make every day, and they do make an impact. Last year alone, our waste was over 1,500 tons, and that's the equivalent of 17 747 airplanes that we sent to the incinerator, the Wheelabrator. And everything that we burn impacts our air quality of those who live around the campus and us. So the less that goes into it, the more time we take to get to know our waste and to understand where it goes, the less we produce, the less that goes to the incinerator.
So you dodged my question about electric car for you. So I'm going to come back to that, Anna, and I'm going to ask the question differently. And that is, here you are, a young mom with kids. Yep. What's it going to take to get you to get an electric car? And what incentives are out there tell us about this, what is it called, inflation relief. So what's
Inflation
out
Reduction
there?
Act. Yeah.
Yeah, and Alex, and you tell us what incented you to get your leaf. But go ahead, Anna, you're first.
So I understand. So I do not drive an electric car. I drive a Toyota Highlander. So what's it going to take, Dr. Jarrell?
Right.
So I would need to add a charger to my house, right? And right now my electrical capacity at my home is maxed out, right? So we'd have to do some infrastructure. But I just had a charging station added down the street from my house. And so it's funny, I said to my husband, I was like, hey, look, it's right there. We don't need it at our house now. It's right there. And like Alex just said, they're becoming more and more available. So it is definitely a thought process of like, okay, when this one's, when this car is done, what I'm going to do in the future to purchase an electric vehicle. So the Inflation Reduction Act, there's a lot that goes into that. That's what Dr. Jarrell is referring to is a federal bill that passed. And one of the things it does have is direct payments to state and nonprofit entities, which wasn't available before for often some things. So I don't know what it has in regards to specific individuals. I do know that they've added some benefits for like the resale of electric vehicles too, and not just purchasing brand new. But definitely check it out if people are interested in purchasing an electric vehicle.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about incentives. You all will remember the cash for clunkers. Okay. And it was a pretty interesting program. And I know it took some cars off the road. I don't know whether it ever accomplished what they were seeking to accomplish, whether there was any measurable change, really. But so, Alex, what got you to get your leaf?
Well, the university, if you'll remember, a few years ago had an offer that it was worked out through Nissan. Nissan, was trying to sort of unload their older models. I mean, it was new at the time, but they knew they were coming out with longer range Leafs, and it was a great deal. And we couple that with a federal, I think it was $10,000 and free money. Couple that with the federal incentive, state incentive, and I commute a lot, so it made a lot of sense. I will tell you this, Anna, about the charging. It wasn't until this year that I wired up a 220 volt plug to give myself a level 2 charge. I just use a trickle charge. Every night I go home and I would just plug it in to regular wall outlet, and it would give me 50, 60 miles of charge every night. Very easy.
Good to know.
Yeah, I have a 220 50 amp charger. I have 2 volts, one for me and one for Leslie, and we just alternate cars, and it's just not a problem. It's been very convenient. So it was a university deal with Nissan, and I remember that quite well.
Right. Too good to pass by.
Too good to pass up. So anyhow, so in terms of federal rebates and stuff, we just have to keep our ears peeled for that, because I'm never quite sure about the details on them. In any event, so Anna, I've always been sort of amazed at how much electricity UMB does use, and that it uses more than any system campus except College Park. Okay, and the state is sort of incenting us. Incenting is in quotes because I think it's got a sharp edge to it. Incenting us to reduce our fossil fuel electricity. So tell us about that, and tell us about the penalties, and also what we're trying to do to catch up with this.
Yeah, so just this past spring, Maryland passed one of the most aggressive or progressive, I should say, legislative bills, which is called Climate Solutions Now. And in that bill, there's quite a variety of requirements for state entities and for the state. And it's calling for the state of Maryland to be net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2045. So what does that mean? So we burn fossil fuels to produce electricity. We burn fossil fuels in our fleet vehicles. We need to curb that and not by 2045. Additionally, our buildings have to also meet a certain standard and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in those buildings as well. So you're right, we're playing catch up, but it is a great opportunity for UMB. So we have a plan to have a consultant come and create a plan for how to decarbonize our buildings. Luckily, we don't have a lot of buildings on fossil fuel on gas, natural gas. However, we do have steam, and steam is produced by burning fossil fuels on our campus. So with that, we have benchmarks of the buildings and the fleet. We have to convert our fleet to electric vehicles for certain vehicles, and as well as purchase our electricity, 75% of our electricity from renewable sources. I'm happy to say that by the end of this calendar year, it'll be the first year that we will have reached 100% renewable, our electricity from 100% renewable sources. That's a big deal for UMB. And, we're not going to stop there. We're going to keep going, and that's made through 3 power purchase agreements and by purchasing renewable energy credits.
I didn't know you'd gotten that high. How'd you get that high?
We're getting there. We're getting there. So, how do we get that high? It's people asking and pushing, right? We have students coming to campus and they are advocating in Annapolis for this legislation, our students. We have faculty members coming and saying, how can we do more? And I think the appetite is right on our campus. We are, really starting to see more curious questioning, I call it, and why are we doing things this way? Why was it done this way? And let's find a different way. That curiosity, even just from one of our own staff members. So we hired 2 new staff members for the Office of Sustainability, and within a couple of weeks, they were like, why are we selling our cardboard? Or why are we, giving our cardboard away? We could be getting a rebate for that. And so we changed vendors. We're getting a rebate for the cardboard that we recycle on campus. It is being recycled, and that now funds our specialty recycling for batteries, for the film, for other things that we can then recycle. So that's where that curiosity can get us. And I'm encouraging that all over campus.
Now, you didn't mention the state penalties. So tell us a little bit about the penalty system here if we don't get that. And does that just apply to renewable energy for our buildings, or does it apply more broadly?
Yeah, so the penalty is we have to purchase offsets, so carbon credits for what we are burning. And some institutions do this, and we will end up having to do this for, let's say, our global hub that's now launching, right? We're still going to do research globally, and we're still going to have these programs. And so, by flying to these places where we're burning jet fuel, and that's a fossil fuel. And so we're going to have to purchase carbon credits for that, and invest in, a forest that's, reducing all of those greenhouse gas emissions. So there will be penalties per se, an investment to offset those if we don't reach those targets. Yes.
So we'll have a baggage fee and we'll have a renewable energy fee when we buy tickets from now on. Is that going to happen?
The carbon offset, yeah.
The carbon offset, yeah, they get you coming and going, don't they?
But I would say it's for the better, right? We want this world, and we're sort of, wanted to go on the right trajectory, and that's important. During the pandemic, where did people go? They went to parks, they went outside, they went, to all these different places, and we need to protect that and to build that.
Gotcha. The other thing we've been doing here is the Saratoga building, and we're trying a little experiment here. So tell people about this experiment and what do you expect to happen?
Yeah. We've started the Saratoga Energy Reduction Pilot Program. It started at the end of August, and we are turning off essentially the HVAC in the building on Fridays. So starting at the afternoon on Thursday into Monday morning, the HVAC is cycled off. And what that means is we're able to save energy on not running the building systems during that time. It's still safe to come in, but that saves on electricity. And what we noticed was that people were teleworking during that time already. So it's a pattern we already noticed, and we're capitalizing on that pattern. What I will say is that our electricity rate, probably similar to yours at home, has increased 70% in the last year. So this savings alone, will already help us on what we purchase, which is, we are a large purchaser of electricity, like you had mentioned. So we're hoping to show the energy savings and the cost avoidance, but also, taking a look at the pattern, right? I do know that other USM schools are like, wow, UMB is trying this pilot. Like they're already looking at it too. And other institutions incorporate times where they, adjust the building systems during winter breaks, holidays, sometimes some summers, things like that.
Yeah, I'm in the Saratoga building, and it seems often have to come in on Friday. Quite honestly, I haven't noticed a difference yet.
I was going to ask, is it warm, cold? How is it?
I haven't noticed a difference yet. Of course, I may dress differently depending upon, what the season is, et cetera, but it's been no problem as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Yeah, you might have to wear your vest.
Yeah, well, I like my vest, but I didn't wear it for this. So Anna, what do you think you're going to save with that strategy?
So I don't want to put a number on it, but I do know that we're saving not only, some funds, but like I said, the electricity is going up. So we're already increasing our costs this year. But the greenhouse gas emissions as well is saving. But I also think it's a way of looking at how we're operating, right? So where are the patterns and the opportunities in the buildings? And can we try something? And what is that like? And I'm gonna, write down your note that you didn't really notice. So, right. So, and so how can we try other things on campus, and, sort of implement and not be afraid to try, right? So we are tracking it, and we do plan to have a meeting with those in the building to discuss what we've learned, throughout the pilot. And so stay tuned.
Yeah, I will, and I'm obviously enthusiastic about this. I don't know how far it can go. I know in Saratoga, it just has not been a disruption for me. And of course, you've got these two different things colliding, don't you? Because you've also got the telework kind of movement, and if you align those two, that could be a very good thing. And of course, as everybody will guess, alignment's not easy. So, for example, in the Saratoga building, we also have the Maryland Poison Center. Well, they have to operate 7 days a week, I think. And so you have to figure out how to accommodate them and yet try to go after some reductions otherwise. So I just want to remind participants to please ask questions. See if you can stump Anna with your question, because we're here to also address things like that. We had a picture to show, and Alex, you want to show that green wall, and then Anna, why don't you talk about what this thing is?
Yeah. So the green wall is a great example of how the decisions that we make or are able to make on our campus, how we can incorporate well-being and sustainability into those. So the School of Nursing was conducting a renovation, and I know Dean Kirschling has been a huge advocate for sustainability, and with wanted to put in a green wall, not only as a showpiece, but it also has a psychological effect on individuals and calming effect. Plants do. And also, they also help clean our air. And so what you're seeing here is the green wall in the School of Nursing in their new addition. So definitely go check it out. The plants were installed yesterday, and the sustainability team got to chat with those installing it and got to see it in action. There's another green wall in Lexington building on the 6th floor in the design and construction suite. And that was our first green wall, permanent green wall on campus. And I'd say it adds an element, right, to the work environment, to the building. And I would say that we have these decisions that we can make and that we can incorporate these types of elements into those. Yeah.
The one in the Lexington building, what's it been there, 3 or 4 years, somewhere in that range?
Yeah, if not a little bit
I've
longer.
lost track. Given COVID, I don't have a clock anymore. And it seems to be remaining healthy. Last time I saw it looked pretty good. So what are the problems of maintaining a green wall? Do you have any experience with that?
So they do have to be maintained pretty regularly. I know we have a vendor come out every 2 weeks. They do require some plumbing, water for the plants and, maintaining the foliage and things like that. I don't know of any specific issues, but, they have to be part of the design, right, and brought into that project. They can be added afterwards too, but they definitely require the plumbing and some ventilation as well, and some components to make them work. Yeah.
Okay. It's a whole variety of plants. There's 6 or 7 types of plants there. They're all kind of interesting and look nice. As part of that location, there's also going to be a wall that's going to have a School of Nursing student and I think maybe faculty and staff artwork from the 1807 magazine. So it's going to be a very nice environment. I may have to go over there myself to relax and get away from it all.
Plus, the air is cleaner, right? The green walls filter the air.
Yes.
They make you feel good, but they also actually provide a real health benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, I wonder how easy that is to measure. Has that been measured, Anna?
I believe it has. I don't have the direct specifics on it, but I can get that information to our listeners. So.
Okay. Alex, you got some questions in the audience?
We do have questions. Let's bring in Ron Eshelman, who wants to ask about electric cars. Ron.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for doing this today. I'm just curious about the cars in the garages. The more electric cars that we bring on campus, is there going to be enough charging stations to support all those vehicles in the future?
Anna?
That's a great question. So, we talked about Climate Solutions Now and how we also have to electrify our fleet too. And I can appreciate with this big push that we're going to have more and more of those on campus. And so our goal is not to have one charger for every car on campus, but to have a service that we can provide for those. I know we are looking into different ways of adding them to campus. I had touched on the possibility of solar carports, and with those will come some added chargers to those garages. So we are working on a plan, right? What does that look like? How do we grow to make sure that we can provide service, and also know that it's not intentional that we have a charger, like I said, for every car on campus, but that we're able to provide a service for those who would like it. Yeah.
But it's an important question because my experience parking at a charging station, of course, I come in really early, so I always got priority at a charging station because that's the value of coming in early. But what that did was it tied up that charger maybe all day if I didn't go out for some activity. And so I know Tony Green and Robert Milner and others have had significant discussions with the electric car population to see what can be practical in terms of swapping out cars or the like. And that, of course, is the right way to do it. But on the other hand, it's not going to always be practical to do that. And I'm a surgeon, and I don't do operating now, but I did it back then. And you can't be in the middle of an operation and say, hey, wait a minute, I got to go move my car for somebody else to charge. So there's a practical nature to this that we've somehow got to get more creative about. And
they did get, if I can just interrupt, they did do something creative about this, and that is, as of this week, the first 4 hours is free, as always, electric charging, and then after that, it's $2 an hour. And you get a notification from ChargePoint saying, it's going to go up to $2 an hour. You better move your car. So if you are in surgery, you're a surgeon, you can probably handle the $2 an hour. No, but I mean, you don't have to move, but it's an incentive to move, and maybe that'll help.
It's an incentive, and I agree with you, Alex. At the same time, I just, things happen, and you can't always do that, and so I'm watching with interest to see how this all works. I'm highly in favor of it, and yet at the same time, I know that there will be issues that will come up. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah, we've got a few more questions, but
okay, go ahead.
One related question was just an anonymous question. Are we going to do something with incentives for electric cars or hybrid cars anytime soon? Is there any thought to do that again?
Yeah, so I know that our team is closely watching and getting educated on the Inflation Reduction Act and what that means. It's still being fleshed out. And so if there are opportunities for us to provide a benefit to UMB, we will absolutely do that. Just like anybody can sign up for community solar and receive 10% off the base rate of their electricity. That is a current benefit. So we are watching for that. And if it becomes available, that's definitely something that we would champion.
Make a couple more comments, Anna, about that reduction in power at home program.
Yeah, so UMB faculty and staff who are 50% full-time or more have the option of signing up for community solar. And what that is you are saying, I want to have my power from my house, my electricity come from a community solar farm. And they are located locally in Maryland. We have a map on our website that shows where they're located. Nothing happens to your house. It's still coming through, BG&E in the BG&E zone, but it does support those local solar renewable projects. And then what they do is they offer a credit on your BG&E bill, which is 10%, always 10% off that base rate of electricity. And I don't know about you, but I like coupons, and so 10% off is pretty good to me. So
yeah, and I'm signed up for it. Alex, have you signed up for it yet?
Well, I'm not in the BGE zone.
Oh, really?
I don't think I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is so Pennsylvania, West Virginia.
Well, just even the other side of the bay, you can't.
Just the other side of the bay.
Yeah. So I wish I could, but I can't do that.
So Anna, we got to do more to work on that one as well. And this was a joint program that UMMC had put together also, and we joined in. That sounds
so they we have our own program. They had a different program that they have launched to their staff. Their program isn't available to their staff yet, so ours is. But yes, we are working with the same vendor. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, Alex, got another one?
All right, let's bring in Jill Sullivan. Jill, what do you want to say?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I am a tireless recycling advocate, and when I was at nursing, we had signs over every light switch saying, "Please turn off the lights when you leave." And I ran around the building, at least on my floor, turning lights off because people just it didn't click. They saw the sign, they didn't do anything about it. So I guess my question is, and then recycling and actually doing it properly. So what can the university do to repeatedly, I think you have to repeat the message over and over, to make people realize the significance and importance of recycling properly. Don't put your dirty napkin in with the glass, personally, I'll put signs up anywhere, assuming I get permission from my new supervisor, but I'm wondering what else the school can do to support the idea.
Oh, Jill, I'm so glad that you brought this up. So we are embarking on a self-service initiative across campus. So you had mentioned the School of Nursing, and Alex mentioned earlier, the School of Nursing has what's called a self-service model. And what it entails is individuals take their waste and their recycling to a common 3-bin system. So we have paper recycling, we have mixed recycling, then we have trash. And what that does is a couple of things. It reduces the amount of liners and trash cans. So right now, every office space or space on campus has a trash can with a liner, a plastic liner. And the School of Nursing pilot program actually reduced the amount of liners going to the incinerator by almost 500,000 a year. It's a huge impact. So it allows people to get up from their desk, right, or their workstation and move a little bit more of that well-being, and pay attention to what you're sorting, right? So if you are aware of the waste that you're producing or disposing of, oftentimes that helps. There's research that shows that it helps that you'll sort it more properly. With the self-service waste initiative, we are also standardizing the signage that goes with the bins around campus. So yes, Dr. Jarrell, I'm gonna come around and take away your trash can, but we're gonna have standard bins, standard signs in our buildings across in our bins across campus, and you were right, Jill, that consistent messaging is very helpful, and we need to do that across our whole campus. We also have the new recycling center that's about to come online. That will help the back end, our environmental services staff, and the processing of that recycling. We are currently recycling on campus, and we will continue to recycle on campus. We will also be bringing back the composting of our animal bedding, which is huge. We produce more animal bedding than anything else on campus because we're a large research institution. And so you can, if you have questions, you can request a recycling little presentation from our team. They'll come to your team meetings, they'll come to your building if people have questions. We're also doing waste audits. I think they were just at the library this week to see what people are throwing away and what they're, disposing of in the wrong bins. And so we can start to educate and pinpoint to be more targeted with increasing our recycling rate. And not many people know, as the institution, we have a goal to recycle set by the state. And currently we are not meeting that goal, but this will increase that effort.
Yeah, Jill, I go home every night and I get in trouble because I put it in the wrong bin. And it's just so difficult to keep it all straight as to what goes where. But we're making a major effort to do that. But it's a challenge. I have to say it's a challenge. But anyhow, that's life, I guess. Alex?
I'll take just a quick step back because I know I'm talking about living on the other side of the bay, that probably very few people, though there are some that do that. But we have a viewer who lives in gorgeous Prince George's County, the land of my youth, and she's also excluded from the plan. And I bet there are a lot of people who do live in the not in the BGE area, but who'd want to take advantage. Anyway, we have this anonymous question. This audience member writes, "This is an inspiring discussion." She says, you sort of touched on this, but Anna, can you lay out a few accessible, tangible things that students can do on and off campus who want to get involved in sustainability and also maybe live more sustainable lives?
Yes.
What can they really do?
Yeah. So if they're interested in getting more involved on campus, we have right now Campus Sustainability Month. There's a lot of different programs going on right now on campus. They can reach out to our sustainability office. We did receive a grant to plant more trees on campus, and we will have some tree plantings coming up, and we are gonna need some hands for that. And there's also different organizations that we can get them in touch with, like Blue Water Baltimore and some others that are located locally. if they're looking to volunteer. I know some students have service learning requirements too in regards to their coursework and their degree, and we are looking for ways to get those requirements with sustainability organizations. We had a discussion with the School of Medicine, and they're incorporating those. I know the School of Dentistry, you can get those approved, pre-approved. There's also different ways on campus that you can get involved. So if you're looking for your program, start asking questions. If we're having events, if you're a part of a student organization, ask, can we make this a low waste event? Not having bottled water and encouraging others to bring their water bottle, right? Reusable water bottle. So we have lots of different resources on the sustainability website for students to get involved. We also have a newsletter so that they can sign up for and learn about what's happening and to keep tab on the projects that are also going on. So there's definitely some tangible ways. And I would say by each of us doing even little actions like bringing a reusable napkin to your lunch or packing your lunch, that is also setting an example and allows other people to do the same and, starts that conversation.
But Anna, all these things seem so small. I mean, even 500,000 plastic trash can liners seems so small. How do you get scale on all of this?
Yeah. So that School of Nursing example is how we made the presentation. And we said, look, if we did this across campus, across 60 buildings, that 500,000 will grow into millions of landers not going to, right? And if we are condensing our waste, then that's how you start that scale. But you start small, right? So that's the first step. And you start with what you can sustain, and then you get bigger. And then so we have lofty goals, but we're definitely, okay, let's start here and keep going. So.
But I'm sure you'll remind the people how impatient I am on this, because I think it's such an important topic, and we've not been in this way of thinking for some time, and we need to shift gears, into high speed on this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I can appreciate your impatience. We, for the longest time, I think UMB was sitting back and waiting. Let's see how other institutions do it. And now we've seen it, and now we can do it. And we are pushing, and we are setting to accomplish those goals. So stay tuned.
Alex, you got another question?
Yeah, we have a bunch of them.
Okay.
We do, yeah. This is a little off, but sometimes there are unintended consequences. Someone asks, what's been the impact on the EVS staff? The School of Nursing recycling, has that lessened their work, or has it impacted them somehow?
So what it has done is it's actually made things more efficient. So when this went about with the School of Nursing, I appreciate the question and the care for the staff that are doing it, is it allows for the waste to be co-located, right? And there's less bins, so it allows them to be more efficient. We all know with COVID, there's been other cleaning tasks or things that have happened, and so it allows for them to complete those other tasks. And it also, when we have bins co-located and they're not sitting in an office somewhere with the door shut, it also decreases the amount of friends or pests, if you will, that it can attract. So, the self-service waste initiative is done in conjunction with EVS, and we are, working with them. And their concern is, how do we educate people on what to recycle, right? And so that's why I said you can ask for us to come and to learn a little bit about what we can recycle. So thank you for the concern and the question.
Alex?
What about composting? Someone asks, I mean, we know we do this at the campus center to a degree, but there's food waste generated all over, right? It's difficult. Some people worry it could be smelly, although that's not always true.
Yeah.
What's the reality of the future of composting at UMB?
Yeah. So This is a hot topic in the city as well. We have applied to be part of a grant with the city to be a drop-off site. So it'd be open to the community, but also, right now they are beta testing it at the farmers markets in the city, and we don't have a site near West Baltimore or near our campus. So we sort of raised our hand and said, hey, we'll be a site, we'll beta test it. And, composting is important. It's also a way to divert from what goes into our trash stream, and can be made into valuable and usable compost for our flower beds and things like that. I know there's an effort to build a compost site in Baltimore City, and they're looking at that and looking at institutions to sign up for that. And right now, you're right, we don't have a compost site. Food on our campus that's produced on our campus is, we don't have large residence halls or food halls, dining halls. So you want a lot of food and also that brown matter too from the landscaping. But we are looking into ways in which we can make it available for those who do live around the campus and who work on campus.
Here's another one. What's going on with bicycles on campus? There was a time where we were partnered up with bicycle rental companies, and I know we do have a bike lockup at the campus center, but apart from that, and there are quite a few people. I know of one professor who bikes to work every day.
Yeah.
And there are plenty more. I know of one who makes it a ritual.
I've also seen an increase in electric scooters. The parking and transportation, they are also working on another bike cage. You could mention the one in Pratt Garage. They're working on one closer to the north end of campus, which is great. We're also seeing an increase in students purchasing the MTA pass more so than ever. So you talk about bicycles, there are people who are looking to come to campus in a variety of different ways. We don't currently have a bicycle like rental, whatnot, but we are mapping out bicycle racks on campus, and we had just applied for Bicycle Friendly University, and we're hoping to be awarded that as well, and how we can make it more bicycle friendly and pedestrian friendly on campus. That was one of the big things in the facilities master plan that we're working on the final draft of.
Alex, I think we got time for one more question.
So someone writes that there are universities that post their building energy usage, like you can monitor it.
Yeah.
And see it. Would we ever consider doing something like that? Just sort of, for people who are really into.
So we are currently recruiting for a climate fellow right now, climate core fellow, and their project will be data visualization. So energy use for each building. We also have the electrical infrastructure project that is going on campus. And with that will come dashboards and where the energy is being used and how we can sort of zone in on that use. So yes.
Alex, I'm still showing a minute and a half. Since you've got questions, why don't you get Anna here one more time?
Okay, I kind of zapped ahead of some. Now, someone had a very specific question about the recycling. And she writes, and she's in this building. She writes, will facilities have a recycle pickup in each building to take to the new building, to the new recycling center? And how would we get the recycling materials there? I mean, how's this going to work?
Yeah. So right now it's picked up by our EVS staff and will continue to be. And then based on location of buildings, it will be put on a truck that goes to the new recycling center. Or
that's paper,
location.
Right? Isn't that just paper?
To the recycling center. Yes. We have a different location for the mixed recycling, which we're looking at. So a different place for that dumpster. So then they can come pick it up. Yep. So. Okay.
Well, this has been sort of fun, Anna. I'm still impatient, but things are moving along, aren't they? And your office is brand new and already having an impact. Obviously, we need to keep the pressure up and keep the public relations part of this in the forefront of people's mind, because it really is an important topic. So I thank you for being here with us, Alex. Again, thank you. And for those who were in the audience, thank you for attending this important topic. So with that, thank you all. See you next time.